And with that said, let's get our guest speaker up here. My God, I know she is ready to go. And we love her to death. Without further ado, let's give a warm welcome, none other than the Regional Vice President with her own sodas and cans, the great one and only Keri Roeder.
No, that is how you start a Monday morning. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. So it's funny. We had long travels home, right, yesterday from international. And of course, there was a weird delay, right? You guys were probably part of that thunderstorm trying to leave Orlando, right? Which delays everybody else. And so the travels home, Suzanne and Shanine and I were just like, okay, we got to rethink like spending the night. It was like so exhausting. And as I roll into the pad at 1 a.m., doing everything, waiting to make sure Suzanne got home because they dropped me off. It was 1:30 when I went to bed. But I thought, oh my gosh, I hope I can be bright-eyed and cheery. And Keri, I was telling Kush, I go, I really do wake up this way, and I really do go to bed this way, all full of energy. But when my alarm went off this morning at 6:45, I literally was like, I get to do Mr. Thomas's call today. I was so excited. And this entire weekend, I was so excited to be a part of September. And just to be able to kind of just share my 15 and a half years of experience and all of that, and a lot of which I've learned from our incredible Senior Vice President, Mr. Al Thomas. And one of the things that I respect, we're gonna talk about the power of events, okay? And so one of the things that I respect the most about Mr. Thomas, when we go to these events, whether they're a small regional or the big nationals like we were just at, Mr. Thomas runs around there the most humbled in that he runs around there and introduces and edifies all of us like we are the top producing senior vice president that he learns from. And I love that. I mean, he's asking us to take pictures. He's asking if he can introduce people to us. And that's one of the things that as you gain momentum in ACN and you go to different events and you get to have intimate interactions and conversations with the leaders and get to know them on a personal level. The idea that everywhere we go, that's what Mr. Thomas does. I told you years ago, our first RVP trip, we went to Cayman Islands. And our very first morning, we went down for breakfast. And as I turned the corner, Mr. Thomas was like, oh, there she is. Mrs. Roeder, Mrs. Roeder, can I have a picture with you, Mrs. Roeder? And I was like, wait, what is happening here, Mr. Thomas? You're my mentor. You're part of why I got to go on this RVP trip. But he was so excited to see me. And it was just one of those humbling moments to realize that when you help other people succeed, you succeed, whether they're in your money line or not. When you serve and you give and you lift up, like he said, it's all about recognition. When you make people feel important, when you make people, we talked about this 2 months ago, nobody can make you feel a certain way, right? However, when you do what Mr. Thomas does and you put that opportunity and you put that energy out, people will feel valued. They'll feel loved. They'll feel important. They'll feel significant based on your interaction. And that's exactly what Mr. Thomas does. And you probably don't realize this, Mr. T, but I watch you kind of run around. Like I don't always see you coming, right? And boop, there you are. But when you leave, I watch you leave. And I just love listening to you interact with everybody. And you make me feel significant and feel important. And I know that you make other people feel that way too, because we talk about you behind your back. And I watch you run around and I can see people's expressions. I can see people's eyes gleam. And I'm an energy person and I can feel that energy. And that just amazingness. So the power of events is being able to be around incredible leaders like Mr. Thomas. So for any of you on the call who's new and you haven't been to one of our internationals, when you go to one or when you go to the next big event and you see Mr. Thomas in action, this conversation will make a lot more sense. But that's the power of events. That's the power of events. You have this gentleman has been documented for his success for decades, 3 decades, not just in ACN, but in direct sales and network marketing globally. He is sought after globally to teach what it is he's done in all of these decades to teach many of us to go to the higher levels of success. So that's the power of events. So I thank you, Mr. Thomas. You know that you are one of my most amazing mentors and friends, and you've helped me not just in my ACN business, but in my life and in this transition that I just went through. and in my future. And I am so grateful for you. There will never be accurate words for me to describe just how much I love and respect you. So thank you for allowing me to be on these calls. You're so cute. Okay, so I love that. I am so true, right, Manny? Okay, so in my reading this morning from my book of Proverbs, I wanted to read you a little caption that I read this morning. The title is Invite Instruction. So invite instruction. Rebuke the wise and they will love you. Instruct the wise and they will be wiser still. Teach the righteous and they will add to their learning. It's Proverbs 9, 8 through 9. Now, my cool book, it actually gives like a little explanation of what that entry means. So I'm going to read it to you. His name is Boyd Bailey, explains it as wise people invite instruction. Wise people invite instruction. So no matter what level of success you reach in ACN or your business or your family or whatever, wise people invite instruction. They understand that correction and rebuke are necessary if they are to grow in wisdom and righteous behavior. Without well-meaning instructors, i.e. Mr. Thomas, without well-meaning instructors willing to get in our faces, we aspire to be average at best. We're not here to be average people, right? We are not here to be average. So when we invite wise instruction, we are able to go above average. However, an invitation to meddle in our affairs sets the stage for authentic accountability. Authentic accountability. Effective correction makes us uncomfortable at times, but we become wiser as a result. I'll say that one again. Effective correction makes us uncomfortable at times, but we become wiser as a result. See, in my 15 years of building ACN, that's sometimes, and Melissa Street talked about it in her SVP speech, right? There'd be times to reach out to the Mazers and with loving right instruction, you know, they provided that, and Mr. Thomas has done that to me, and I know countless other people. I do it to some of you, right? But here's the thing: when you approach us and you ask us to give you guidance, and then we ask you permission to give you the guidance that you need, sometimes it's kind of lovingly we give it with the goal that you're going to take it and make the whatever changes need to be made to move you towards your goal. Okay. And, you know, it's funny because one of my sayings is, you know, we teach income generating activities and we're not going to ill advise you. Everything we teach you to do is so that you can be profitable, because when you're profitable, we're profitable. So we're not going to ill advise you, because if you don't make money, we don't make money, right? And so when we look for wise counsel, amazing leaders like Mr. Thomas, who's been doing this for 3 decades and documented for his success, when he gives us advice, we should consider heeding that advice because he's trying to move us towards our goal. So this is September. So the month of September, our conversation is going to be about the power of events. And so today I want to just kind of talk with you about, I took a bunch of notes throughout this weekend. I was so excited. And so some of my notes is to start when our travels to the event, wherever it is, right? Whether you're in a car or on an airplane or whatever, your travels to your events, travel with your people, travel with them. Like my traveling buddies are Suzanne and Shanine, right? And then we meet up and we see Kathy and Debbie and Douglas and Solomon and, you know, the whole group, but we travel together. When you travel together, it's like breaking bread together, right? When you have to wait in line at the airport, wondering if your flight's delayed and all that, you get to have an opportunity to interact with people and to teach and to lead. And so it's funny because any time that there is a delay in the plane, last month that happened to me, if you guys remember, we were like stuck in Dallas or something like that and get changing and everything. And I just sat at the bar giggling like, well, nothing I can do about it, right? So if you have no control over something, why stress yourself out about it? If you have no control, then don't stress about it. Just roll with it. And as a leader, when you're traveling with your people, if you're driving, you get stuck in traffic, or if you're flying and there's a delay or whatever, right? Your bags don't show up or whatever it is, right? Not gonna lie, I always like my bag to show up. But it's an opportunity for you to lead by example. Mr. Mike Mazer was quoted by Mr. Jeff Street this weekend, the only way you can influence another person is to be the example. And so as you're traveling with your team, it's an opportunity for you to show what leadership really looks like. And leadership really looks like you don't freak out when you're traveling and things that go wrong that you have no control of. You have to simply problem solve. We're in the business of problem solving. Okay. So travel with your people, make memories, take pictures on the plane, take pictures in the airport, right? Make memories. People, the power of events is this: people remember how you make them feel. The purpose of the events is not necessarily the details. Yeah, that's important. But most of us don't remember the details. Mr. Mike Mazer taught me years ago when I first got started, people only remember 7% of what you say, right? So if we go to these events, we hear all this information. We all hear the same information, but we all take in that information differently. But every single one of us feel like we can run through a brick wall. And I know it because I watch everybody. Like I see how people come in and I see, lunchtime first day, and I see how people leave this, at the end of the first day. And then the second day on Sunday, we're all tired, but we show up anyway and we're like fired up, right? And then when people leave, we're all hugging and I got this. And so it's how you feel. The power of events is how you feel. So travel with your people, okay? And then by going early, you get to interact with the leaders and other people in the lobby. You get to see what it's like to be in the restaurant and to be sitting there, and all of a sudden, there's Mr. Thomas right at your table. Hello, ladies, right? And all of that. And then you get to see him sitting down and talking to Mr. and Mrs. Aaron Burke, right? They were having their little not little, they're having their 15-year wedding anniversary. So we said hi, and then next thing I know, I look up and Mr. Thomas is having a great conversation with them. And I look around and Mrs. Renata Krumer's running around, right? And all the leaders, I saw Mr. Trolley go through, like all the leaders are just kind of bouncing around. It's an opportunity for you to break bread with the leaders that you aspire to, I assume, aspire to be like, right? Aspire to have their level of success. Well, when you're standing there in the lobby, or you're standing there in the restaurant or in the bar or whatever, and you're able to have a conversation with them when we're in a position where we're relaxed, which by the way, I mean, we're just all normal people. Okay. But when you're on stage, like you're thinking, like, you know what you're saying, you're in training. Okay. But when you're in the lobby, when you're in the hallway, whatever, when you're just hanging out, that's a great opportunity for you to interact with the leaders and other people in the lobby. You get to encourage each other. You get to ask. I love hearing in the elevators and in the lobby, where are you from, right? And then everybody throws out Connecticut or California or Texas or whatever. And I love hearing those conversations. How long have you been in ACN, right? And that's just a great opportunity for you to get a perspective. I was talking to this wonderful woman. I think she was from Connecticut. We were walking and I was like, oh my gosh, I love your jumper. And she's like, it's from White House Black Market. And I said, so it's my dress. She's like, I know, I used to work there. And so we're walking, we're talking about shopping. Shocker, right? We're talking about clothes. And so we're walking along, where are you from? Da, da, da. How long have you been in AC? And so she was giving me her journey. She goes, I got started, I had fast success, and then life happened. And last 7 years, I've had to just kind of deal with life happening, but I'm back and I'm going to work hard at this. And so as we were walking along, it was just really great to be able to hear her story. And then she's like, what about you? And I said, well, 15 years. And so I got to share with her my story. And then we said goodbye because I was going elevators. And then that night, it was Saturday night, we ended up running into her. I said, oh, are you going to go to the social? She's like, no, because I'm not staying here. Da, da, da. And then we were trying to find somewhere to eat. And I saw her at the bar and I was like, Nicole, she's like, Keri, right? And so it was just super fun to be able to now have a connection. And by interacting with other people in the hallways, in the elevators, in the lobbies, right, and all that, in the restaurants and the bars, you get to know other people and you make those wonderful connections. But here's the other thing: you get to inspire other people. And here's what I told her. I said, Nicole, when you get up on that stage and you have an opportunity to tell your story, you are going to inspire so many people, some of which are on this call right now who've been in for a minute and they don't feel like they're having the success that they should be having. That doesn't matter. This is your journey. This is your journey. This is your time. But the power of events, whatever, and you all know, well, most of you know, right? My last year and a half, right? My divorce journey, right? So there are windows of time where you go through stuff. But when you have an opportunity and you have the success and you have an opportunity to share your success, we talked about it all weekend long. You have to go through the mud, right? So you have to go through the mud. So when you go through the mud and you come out the other side, here's the problem. People only see after you've gone through the mud, people see that you've showered, you've shaved, you cleaned up, right? You put on your makeup and did your hair, unlike me, and you get to stand on, and all they see is shiny. Oh, oh, they're so great. They're so successful. Oh, and much it just happened for them. No, we go through the mud in order to get through the other side. And so your journey, whatever your journey is looking like, go through the mud, get through the other side, and put yourself in a position where you're invited to speak on a stage so that other people can hear your mud story and be inspired. But if you don't go to these events, you're not going to be able to have that conversation. I mean, literally, if this intense conversation she and I had started off with, "Oh, I love your outfit," right? And so she's an ACN. I wasn't recruiting her. Actually, it was a really cute romper. Anyway, whatever. So moving on. And then, right? So then we start off Saturday morning. Be in your seats. Be in your seats. I was having a wonderful conversation with Danny, who works for ACN, and I knew it was time. And so I was like, I got to go. And because he knows I don't miss Mr. P's opening conversation. I've heard it however many, somebody's asking me how many events I've been to. I'm like, well, 4 times 15, but then we had COVID, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, a lot, right? Not just about you hearing his opening speech, but your new people. When you see people stand up, who's been here for the first time, and they stand up, right? His opening speech sets the stage. His opening speech sets the stage, not just for you, but for your people. So be in there to hear it, but don't ruin it for the new people that are coming for the first time. Don't tell them what he's gonna say, because I haven't memorized at this point. Okay, don't tell them what he's gonna say. Just simply make sure they're in their seats so they get to feel Mr. P. They get to experience. They get to experience what it's like to hear that incredible man. That man looks into your soul. They get to experience for the very first time what it feels like to hear him tell the story, say all those things, and then they're set. They're set for their weekend of learning. They're set for their weekend of experience. But if you don't go to the events, if you don't encourage your people to go to the events, that can't happen. And so make sure you're there for that. And then Mr. Kupas's announcements, right? Oh my God. It never gets old how he's a kid. He's like, oh, I can't wait to tell you all, right? He gets so animated and excited about the announcements. And every time I just giggle, and I actually tease him on the side. I'm like, you're so cute to watch, because he gets so excited. But again, we can read the announcements in an email. Woo-hoo. Right? But when you have Mr. Tony Kupas like pacing, excited, and just stumbling over his words because he cannot wait to get it out, but he's like trying to wait for you to get it out, right? That's a feeling. That's a feeling we get when we hear. I'm sure you all know by now, we have ACN AI, right? So think about how anticlimactic it would have been if that came out in our ACN newsletter or whatever it's called, right? How anticlimactic would that have been? He was giddy as a school kid, like just running around, couldn't wait to tell us. It's a feeling. Power of events is how we feel. And then all the amazing trainings, right? And all the amazing recognition and the speeches from there. And then Mr. P's closing. So what we're going to talk about this month is the power of events. So to close out today, I like to give you assignments, and no, we're not in school, but I just do whatever. So, okay. So here's your assignment for the week. Ready? I want you all, you ready to write this down? I want you to do this, and we're going to talk about this throughout the month. I want you to, any of you who've been to the International, that Mr. P does an opening statement about the next RVP promotion, right? And so I want you to write out what Mr. P is going to say about you. Now, here's the thing. You get this little survey, you answer all the questions, but by the time you hit RVP, he already knows who you are, right? So he kind of puts it all together, but I want you to write out what Mr. P's opening announcement of the next RVP is. And I want you to write out the details of what you think what you want him to say about you. I want you to actually write that out. And then I want you to pick your song, right? Pick your song. It could be anything, right? Personally, I'm more of the let's all get up and dance, right? Kind of song. But some people are the slow and the methodical and all of that. It's your RVP promotion. Pick whatever song you want. Okay. It's your promotion. Do what you want. Okay. but pick your song. And what part of that song, because it's only played for like a minute, right? What part of that song are you going to clip out to tell the audio guy to play while your name gets announced, and then you're walking out from behind the curtain, and you're hugging Mr. Kane. Angela's giving you flowers if you're a girl, right? You get to hug Mr. Kupitz and Mr. Kupitz, and then Mr. P gives you a big fat hug, and he goes like this, and right. So what's playing in the background for all of us while that is happening for you? Because what is playing in the background for all of us is where we're like either fired up, excited for you, right? Because it's a rock out song, or we're like, oh, crying because it's one of those emotional songs. How do you want to make us feel? How do you want to make us feel while you are being recognized for your hard work going through the mud? So what is your song? The next thing I want you to do is write out your speech. I want you get 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Please don't go over your 5 minutes. But you get 5 minutes, okay? So write it out. Write it out. Write it out and then say it out loud. Time yourself. Revise it as needed, right? Revise it as you go along on your going through the mud to your RVP speech. But write out your RVP speech. Remember, we talked about this 2 months ago. Manifest, right? We're manifesting. I manifested a boat. Okay, so manifest your RVP promotion. Do the work, but write out your speech. And then what I want you to do is I want you to visualize it every day. I want you to visualize it. So Mr. Street said you have to visualize to realize. And then he quoted Mr. Mazer. The goal is written in stone, but the date is written in the sand. The goal is written in stone, but the date is written in the sand. See, if I wasn't sitting there observing and experiencing and feeling my friend and mentor's SVP promotion, Mr. Jeff Street. Jeff Street's why I got started at ACN. He was, the video I saw 15 and a half years ago, he was jogging on the beach. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to jog on the beach. And I was like, oh, I don't want to jog, but I want to be on the beach. Right? And then the next clip was Mr. Matthew LaMontagne jogging on the treadmill. I was like, oh, I want to jog on a treadmill. Well, I don't really want to jog, but I want to have time to jog on a treadmill. I had no idea who these two gentlemen were, but those two scenes in that video 15 and a half years ago is why I got started. So I told Mr. Street at the social, I said, when you stood at the podium and you took a quiet moment and you said, I have been waiting 20 years for this moment. I mean, I was like bawling. I'm like, I've been waiting 15 and a half years too, right? We were experiencing his SVP promotion together. But if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have been able to experience that for me and for him. So the power of events is how it makes us feel. So here's our assignment, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Write out the speech that Mr. P is gonna introduce you to, okay, right? And pick your song, and then write out your 5-minute speech. And then what I want you to do is this, and that not immediately, because this is gonna take a minute, right? But then what I want you to do is this. I want you to audio record yourself, and I want you to put on your best Mr. P sound, right? And I want you to introduce yourself the way Mr. P is going to introduce you. And then I want you to play your song for a 1 minute, that 1 minute clip. And then I want you to give your 5-minute RVP acceptance speech. And then every day, I want you to listen to it with your eyes closed and visualize. Feel what you think it might. Oh, it feels so much better than you would ever anticipate, by the way. It's the best feeling. But I want you to imagine what it feels like when you hear all of us, when Mr. P says your name and we all just explode with, and then during your speech, whatever your speech, if you're making us cry, if you're making us laugh, if you're making us cheer in excitement, I want you to, as you hear yourself give this speech, I want you to sit quiet and visualize it. And what does it feel like to stand at that podium? What does it feel like to hear us in the crowd? What does it feel like to know that you have inspired somebody to go through the mud? What does that feel like? Because in this month, in these stories, I'm going to tell you the reason why I am still in ACN today, and it was because of an event. Jeff got me started, okay, on the video, but the reason why I am still in ACN today was because of my first international event. And when I tell you that story, it's really pretty powerful, and it's a long one, so I'm going to do it in one setting. But the power of events is how we feel, and that's why the top leaders use the events to build our businesses, like Mr. Tony Kupitz says. So there's a whole lot more. There's a whole lot more quotes and all that I have for you. And so we'll kind of linger this out over the months, but please, please, please use the power events to your advantage. For example, this Saturday in NorCal, the NorCal Marketplace, we're having an in-person, live in-person event. We're having a Saturday training, right? And so we can get you that information, but we're actually going to be in person. So if you choose to come to this, or you choose to send people to it, we're going to take good care of them, but we're going to create the environment. Mr. P taught us create the environment for hope and opportunity, and create hope and opportunity and the environment to win. And that's what the power of live events do. So I'm excited for next Monday. Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas, as always, to let me to be on these calls. I'm glad you didn't recognize me with my hair up. But you're just an amazing, amazing human, leader, mentor, and friend. And I love, adore, and respect.